thank you so much for joining me on this first edition of Slice of Mentorship podcast.
Glad to be here. Lots to talk about, no doubt.
For sure. So today we'll talk a little bit about your background, your experience with mentorship, and then about your program and what's next for Gravity Center and you. So let me
happy to share.
Thank you. So let me jump in and ask you what aspects of your career journey led you to your current role, and what's your current role?
So I'm the executive officer of the Gravity Center, which is the hub for entrepreneurship in Rock Hill, South Carolina. We're the little but prettier sister of Charlotte, right? The center started a year and a half ago with the mind that this would be a hub. This would be a one-stop shop that entrepreneurs could either get help starting or scaling their business at, wherever they were in the life cycle of entrepreneurship. My background is in television news. I was a news anchor for 18 years. Went back to school to get my MBA while I was working at the NBC affiliate in Columbia, South Carolina. And it was during my grad school experience that I really fell in love with the small business story. I went to work for one of the nation's most prestigious chambers of commerce, 3-time National Chamber of the Year at Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber, and led advocacy, leadership, and small business initiatives there. And then came to the Gravity Center, like I said, a year and a half ago to launch this center with all of the rights and responsibilities of a great public-private partnership that we have with the city of Rock Hill as well.
So it sounds like this center, it's a pretty unique thing. You mentioned public-private partnership. Could you tell me a little bit about this Gravity Center and Rock Hill Mentorship Program? What makes it different from some other organizations?
Well, I think what makes it successful at this point has nothing to do with me, but that truly in keeping with, Brad Feld and some of the great minds, thought leaders of entrepreneurship, planting and growing around the country, is that it is entrepreneur-led. The Gravity Center is the brainchild as well as the financial culmination of a partnership of 10 entrepreneurs that are from Rock Hill, or that are centered here in Rock Hill, not necessarily from here, but this is where their businesses are. And they approached the city of Rock Hill and said, are you in your economic development strategy, does entrepreneurship and small business matter? And they said, absolutely. And so they were willing to fund my position as well as our VMS program that we're going to talk a little bit about today. And in doing that, we have been able to scale the efforts of the Gravity Center and to eventually be, hopefully here in the very near future, solvent and not need outside sources of funding, but it does take time. And when you're growing, I just really want to encourage, all of our ecosystem partners really around America that are in this conversation, starting and scaling an entrepreneurship hub or a center or a VMS program is not a 3-month, 6-month. It's think 3 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, what you want your community to look like. So this is not, this is not a quick fix. This is not a sprint. We're in it, and we're so thankful that our city partners and even state partners, Department of Commerce, SCRA, federal partners, SBA, that they're in it with us as well.
Very cool. I wonder what it takes to bring so many people with different kind of agendas to the table, but congratulations on making it happen in your community.
There is a finite piece of funding pie, right? Between, corporate giving, foundation giving, city, county, municipality, grants, those types of things that are available. Look for those businesses that are in need of this kind of help and just let them tell their story, to political leaders, because that is an important part of your startup community, is your policy team, your policy makers. So make sure they know what it is that you're doing. Invite them in often and early so that they can feel a part of the growth and the momentum. But let your entrepreneurs lead and let the entrepreneurs tell their story as often as you can.
You mentioned the words VMS. And for some of people who are watching or listening to this, that might not be clear. So what is a VMS and what kind of founders or entrepreneurs does it serve in your community?
So VMS is the Venture Mentoring Service, and our program is patterned after that of the mothership at MIT. It started back in I want to say the early 1990s when a couple of professors saw all of this emerging technology and the need to commercialize. And yet there's this whole issue of, building the scaffolding of business around them that they really needed help with. So thus the MIT program was born. So we, are so fortunate to shepherd that program here in our community. We currently have 19 ventures. That it's a team-based mentoring approach, which is a little different than perhaps other mentoring programs like SCORE. The Rock Hill VMS program here in Rock Hill began, I want to say, in 2016 or 17, which is before my tenure. COVID hit, it had its ups, it had its downs, it had its highs, it had its lows. The Gravity Center took over the VMS program and really revived it here in the last year and a half. Really through using Traction5 Software, through just re-energizing and invigorating and empowering our mentors, and then seeking out those ventures that we felt needed the service the most. We feel like we have a really good thing going. But again, the MIT model is one of the most trusted and battle tested for entrepreneurs in really the world. And so we follow that model.
Thank you, Hannah. So you mentioned that you have 19 ventures or 19 companies that you're serving. So can you talk a little bit about the groups of founders that you serve and who are the right fit for your VMS?
Well, I'm glad you said who is, which ones these are the right fit, because every ecosystem, city, county, entrepreneur center, every area ecosystem may have a different fit. We look for those businesses that have their business idea baked out. We are stage agnostic and success agnostic. We're going to pour into this entrepreneur, but we do have to make sure that there is a product market fit. I often give the example that, if an entrepreneur comes to me and says, we have this idea for a fur coat shop in Key West, Florida. Well, first of all, we're not the entrepreneur hub for Key West, Florida. So at that point, that would not allow you to be in the program, exclude you from the program. But I don't know what a market there is for fur coats in Key West, Florida. So we really try to early on, prior to putting mentors around an idea that's not fully baked out, that we don't have any market data on, they don't really know how they would price it or scale it. We really need that lean business model canvas, that one pager done. We need some ideation work done with them. So the Gravity Center can really help early stage pre-revenuing ventures and get them ready for VMS. And other times they may be early stage pre-revenuing, but their idea is baked out and they are ready and they have their data and they are ready to launch. And that is the time for them. So, our mentors act as kind of an interviewing process, a gatekeeper, if you will. And if those mentors like what they hear and know they can work with them, we really let them make the decision as, again, kind of the interview to get into VMS, as it is a competitive program that we only have, so much funding, so many resources and staffing, so that, we kind of keep it at that 20 venture mark.
And is it free for founders to be part of this?
It is free. Absolutely. It is free. And we ask them to just take advantage of it, meet with their mentors, their mentoring team every 30, 45 to 60 days at most. I have, my time and energy is invested in the program. We also have a part-time coordinator. And if there's a venture that hasn't met with their mentors, in a couple of months, we check in with them and say, hey, is there an issue with the program? Is there a reason why you haven't met with your mentors? And if for some reason they have exhausted the resources of the program, there's a bit of a graduation out of the program, and just a real kindness as we send them off into the world to continue conversations if they ever need a specialty mentor. And they certainly can continue a relationship outside of VMS with their mentors and friends that they make through the program. But there will be a time when every early stage venture or when they're in VMS, where, they need to start thinking about, this is what the VMS program has been able to provide for you for free. Now they need to start, tacking on professional services. For example, they need a lawyer, they need an accountant, they need, while they might have had a mentor in VMS, that was one of those. They need to get a business coach. They need to begin to, as they're scaling, put those resources around them that can help them grow.
I wanted to go back to the selection process. I know some programs are very formal. They have like a special intake process with scoring guides, very formalized, where they stack applicants and calculate the scores and then decide how many points you need to make to get into the program. There are other programs that just let new founders present at a monthly meeting, and then if they get enough mentors, those founders get in. How does it work at Rock Hill VMS?
I would love to say we have this like incredibly difficult matrix and, there's a blood test involved. No. Not at all. So the venture will make application, and there is an initial conversation with that founder to ask them, about their business. And just that initial assessment with, myself and the coordinator, we can get a feel for, again, how where they are through the stages of ideation. Are they currently revenuing? Are there jobs attached to this venture? Which, at the end of the day, I mean, keep in mind, where the ultimate success KPI is keeping them in business past the first year, and then past the second year, and that 5-year mark, and that 10-year mark. So, keeping them invigorated and revenuing and growing is, that is the ultimate. And then there are other things, how long till they, hired their first employee. So, there are those KPIs, but in terms of, interviewing them for the program, the initial assessment is to just gather information as to where they are, and do we have the resources and mentors in our program, or do they need to get that through the Gravity Center and through our, business ideation courses and classes and specialty mentors and other types of mentoring that we can do at the Gravity Center outside of being in this team-based mentoring? Because when that founder meets with that venture team, or that team for the first time, their mentor team, it's going to be like, let's get this, let's plug this in, let's get this going. I mean, it's going to be on turbo. And if a founder isn't ready for that, they're not ready for turbo, they're still, pencil to paper, it might frustrate them. It might frustrate the mentor. So let's get them spun up and get them ready. So the initial assessment, then that interview, if you will, with some of our lead mentors that can really kind of dig into the idea and, again, find out through their own mentoring styles and knowing the program, whether or not, and listen, it could be tech, it could be retail, it could be, healthcare, it could be, you name it, hospitality. It's not necessarily about the sector, but it truly is, are they ready for team-based mentoring that is going to, like I said, just plug them in and get them in fifth gear, get them to go, get them wherever they want to go.
Very cool. Thank you for providing those details on the founder process. Now I'm curious about mentors. I understand these mentors are volunteers. So what's driving the motivation to be part of a program like that?
It is truly a calling that many of our mentors feel to, to give back, or to use, their time and, their corporate career and innovation and small business growth and entrepreneurship that they pour back in. I put out a call early and often for, to grow our mentor pool. Our program is only as strong, not about me, not about our coordinator, not about the amount of funding we have, but our program is only as strong as our mentors. We have an application for them as well. We have a dedicated website, rockhillvms.com, where it's information about the program. It also has, the link to become, a venture. It also has a link to, the form to fill out to become a mentor. And again, it's mentoring by mentoring, for mentoring. And so the lead mentors, interview the prospective mentors, and listen to their experience. And, and they, they're not interrogating or anything. We try to have a coffee with them. We have monthly lunches where, they all get to know each other, and feel, some camaraderie and, kindness towards one another. But there is a competitive process as well, just to make sure, that we are vetting our mentor pool, to make sure that, that they understand our statement of principles, that this, they will sign an NDA, that they are putting, that their motivations are pure, and that there are no bad actors that are trying to get to early stage or pre-revenuing businesses, that, could cause them harm from lack of experience or, connection to the area.
But if you were to give advice to a new program that is getting started, where do you go for your first mentors?
Ask one mentor to bring a friend or someone who might be interested to your next monthly luncheon, and let them kind of meet each other. And they get in a group together, and some of them are retired, and and it's taken them off the tennis court, but then they find this incredible value in being together and learning from each other and growing. So use your mentors as referrals, and some programs actually are referral based only mentorship application. So I mean, you can't even apply unless Tom or John or Sarah or Juan says you have what it takes. We don't follow that model. Nevertheless, it is mentors within our program that interview the mentors so that they can get into the program. If you're just launching one, think about that. You need, 3 mentors for one venture. So, in your mind's eye, set that, you have, and one mentor can mentor several ventures. We have one mentor that actually is involved with 6.
Wow.
6. He loves VMS. He loves working with these businesses, and there is some attrition as well. Life changes. They decide they're going to travel more. They have a grandchild. Things change at their job. Things happen inside of our mentors' lives, so they may have more time or fewer hours to be able to devote to the program. But we're very sensitive to that, and want to make sure that that the VMS program is something that they enjoy doing, that they find value in it, and that they really enjoy meeting and connecting with each other and the founders that they're paired with.
And you mentioned you have, I'm trying to figure out what kind of mentors do I get as a founder. You mentioned there can be some retired people. You mentioned that there might be some corporate people, some entrepreneurs. So what's the composition of your mentor pool right now?
Our mentor pool is not full of MBAs and PhDs, but we do have a few PhDs. We do have some folks that have no education at all, and they are trained and taught from the School of Entrepreneur Hard Knocks, and and they make incredible mentors. But making sure that that we are true to our diversity and inclusion story, that that we are recruiting mentors that are representative of our community. And that can connect with our entrepreneurs of color, as well as our female founders, is really important to us as well. And then that mix between those that are currently working in a job that or are completely retired, and VMS is something that they have all the time in the world to devote to. Currently, we lean more towards the retired community, but it's probably just a 60-40, maybe 65-35 when it comes to retired versus currently working. But even our retirees, I mean, they all have side hustles, that they have never left business. It's still in them to do. They're doing consulting. They're, doing some writing, some research. One guy, plays music on this. He's retired, but he's been true to a hobby and does that. So whoever these mentors are truly whoever coined the term eternal learners. So they're never really retired.
And you mentioned that you joined the program about a year and a half ago, like this organization, and you joined an entity that was already working. And I know there are people like yourself who are kind of joining a new program. I was curious how, like, what have you learned through this 1.5 years, and have you changed anything in your approach to running this organization?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Inheriting an existing program that was in a bit of disarray because of COVID and because the meeting schedules were not had not been shepherded or watched over in terms of frequency. Mentors there was not a lot of data or record keeping that we could just simply pick up and move forward with. Structure to the program, and again, no fault of anybody at all, but it was a program that had a lot of time and energy and emphasis and funding put towards as it launched, during the training and learning how to set this up. And then, COVID happened, and it was, more meeting virtually, and the businesses may have stopped operations altogether if they were among those that were the hardest hit. And so there's like, let me just take a break from my mentors because I'm just trying to keep afloat right now. So I understand so those dips, and there's also some change in leadership of the person who was running the program prior to it being taken over by the Gravity Center, or really gifted to the Gravity Center to run. So making sure that that the butterflies fly in formation, right? There was a bit of organizational chaos that we had to rein in and really gauge the intention of the mentors as well as the ventures, whether or not they wanted to stay in the program, and if they didn't, then we needed to lovingly clean the program, refresh the program, have them exit out so that we could begin to truly have numbers of those people who were engaged and ready to get to work. And that really was what I was tasked with doing, of, really righting the ship and, moving us in the direction. Beginning to collect data was extremely important as well. So the hardest part, really, Igor, I would say, would be those mentors that had really been put through the ringer, those founders that were wondering, am I in this program? Am I not in this program? What's going on? Just being really candid and open and honest with them. This is okay. We got a lot of work to do to clean up our house, right? So work with us while we deploy new technology, new processes, while we build trust, because there is some trust equity that you have to really have with our founders and mentors for them to give their time and energy to a program. So let's shore this up. Let's make this great again. And some of the mentors, they decided they would exit the program. It really wasn't for them anymore. They were going to focus on other things. And some ventures did as well. And that just began our effort, knowing, now who was serious about the program. So there was a lot of work. There was a lot of work to get us to that point, but we're in such a good place now. Again, can't say enough about the use of technology, the use of Traction5 that helped us create efficiencies in a very lean organization, dealing with a lot of people's schedules, needing that repository of notes and information, needing to collect data. All of the things that we needed in a program and could have possibly found with some type of, other, I used Asana in my past life for project management. Basecamp is another. There are CRMs, there's, Doodle polls and Calendly. We needed all that in one. And I'm so thankful for your thought leadership and your experience that was so divine, that brought, all of your skill set together to develop a software that truly helped us relaunch our VMS program with the use of technology and the addition of office hours, which was something we wanted to scale as well. And you were able to help us with that.
Thank you for highlighting Traction5 and talking about this. And we'll talk about office hours in a bit, but I wanted to...
And let me just say, I'm not being paid. Like, we actually pay Igor for the SaaS service, okay? So I'm just saying, like, I needed efficiencies. I needed to, I got this gray patch right here. Like, y'all, I am not even kidding. And Traction5 helped me reduce that a little bit. So anyway. Yeah, it's not
Thank you
paid.
so much. Thank you so much, Hannah. You mentioned like there was a lot of change, and we talked about this when we talked about technology, about change as well. But I think you were very careful, and you even like pushed back on the pace of change a little bit to build trust. So I wanted to ask, what are the things that helped you build trust with mentors and founders in your program so that they would buy into the change that you were bringing?
One-on-one meetings became very important. Get away from this video back and forth, as many in person as you can. Um, a lot of opportunities to learn, opportunities to get together, getting back to the basics, helping, putting the founders in front of the mentors again to really let them tell their story, to explain the need. So it's not just, Hannah needs this, Hannah needs that, Hannah needs that, but it truly were the founders saying, if I just had this, I could do this. And so suddenly they could answer that call. I think were a lot of skeptics that that truly thought that that the program was was going to go away, or that that there was no return on investment to putting this kind of time and energy into it. But I'm actually, like I told you, I'm working on the end of year numbers. I started collecting numbers in January of last year, of 2022. So I have a whole year's worth of data. We collect it quarterly. And so at the end of the year, if my numbers are correct, we'll see right at $2.5 million of revenue and right around 75 jobs that have either been created, nurtured through the VMS program. Now, let me just, for folks that, speak economic development terms here, okay? If I had a manufacturing facility, a retail store, a restaurant, a something that I was going to bring into a community, and I said, okay, it's going to be, a $2.5 million investment and create 70 jobs. I think I could get someone's attention to take me to lunch, right? And let me tell you more about why I wanted to be in your community.
Sure.
That is the story behind VMS, is that, if one of these ventures, if one of these founders is unsupported or doesn't, isn't encouraged and cheerleaded and has, great mentors around them, all the things that entrepreneurs need in their journey. If one of those goes away and those revenues go down and those jobs go away, we're talking real economic development numbers here at this point.
Very cool. And thank you for highlighting how you not only build trust with your mentors, but also build trust with stakeholders by telling the story and showing them the return on the investment. That's pretty cool. You mentioned office hours as a kind of additional kind of process that adds to your workflow. Could you talk a little bit? What's the purpose behind office hours and how does it complement mentorship?
So when you're starting a VMS program, the bread and butter of the VMS program is team-based mentoring, right? You have a founder, you put mentors around that founder, and you help them meet and exceed milestones that they have for their business. But as that journey is happening, there are professional services that many times our founders need that are consultation based in many ways, just to kind of dip into just knowing who to call or get somebody on the phone that is perhaps an attorney. It could be for IP, it could be for labor laws, it could be for entity formation, contracts, franchise agreements, stuff, right? It could be for accounting, forming your entity. It could be a question about, claiming mileage or home office issues or whatever you need to talk to, either tax, accountant, set up your chart of accounts, separate your business finances from your personal finances. Okay. So some of this could be really basic. Some of this could be all the way up to, partnership agreements and what is a K1, and it's really understanding. It could be HR and the HR issues. Your first employee needs an employee handbook. handbook and payroll and all of that. It could be digital marketing services. So these professional services consultations is something that you can add on to your VMS programs in the way of an office hour. Much like when you were studying in college, you could meet with your professor, in an office hour or just kind of off to an aside, so that you could get better understanding of a specific topic or issue. Our office hours program, we had wanted to launch office hours, but again, we just could not with my my time constraints, with our coordinators' time constraints. Every time our phone rings, it's just like, bling, I need to talk to an accountant. Okay, when are you available? When are you available? When are you available? It's just like, oh Lord, stop the madness, right? So office hours allows you to have these professional services advisors that you can coordinate their schedules and just put that out there to the world. Either, it could either be buttoned up so that they, only, certain people have the login, can get in, or it could be open to your entire ecosystem to say, I really need to talk to an accountant. We'll log in to our office hours website, choose a day and time that works with an advisor, that has given me hours that they're available, and you're off to the races. You get a calendar invite, you get a Zoom link, y'all talk about what you need to talk about. And then we're able to collect that data to be able to know, what are the needs in our community for, really talking to that accountant, that, that professional services person. Now, here's the difference though, Igor, between our office hours advisors and our mentors. Our office hours advisors are in the business. They're working. They are real accountants. They are real attorneys. It can be a business development source for them. They are allowed to take on these clients. They are allowed to, fish for business out of these consultations. Unlike our mentors, where they sign NDAs and they're not allowed to invest or, really truly give advice or, go to work for their ventures. Office hours professionals that are giving advice can say, hey, here's what I know about that. If you'd like to hire me to do this work for you, let me know. Just give me a call. But right now, I'm just giving of myself, this appetizer version of information. And so we've been very thankful that office hours has met the need for in our community for targeted specialty advice and information. And so thankful for the Relentless Challenge grant from the state's Department of Commerce here in South Carolina that allowed us to procure this very unique software through Igor and through the Traction5 system, to add that on and really create economies of scale with our time and our resources for those types of services. Long answer, but let me tell you, it makes my life and the mentors and the founders, it just connects everybody.
That's what I always wanted to do. And thanks to this collaboration, we were able to accomplish it and make it available to other programs who want to add professional advice to mentorship. So we talked about the past, we talked about the present. I wanted to ask you about the future. So you've accomplished a lot. You are looking at the year and a half that you've been running the program. So what's next for Hanna, Shay, Rock Hill VMS, and Gravity Center? What gets you excited about 2023?
Couple of things. So first of all, once again, through a grant, we're going to be able to deploy the entrepreneurial mindset profile, which is a assessment that we can provide our VMS founders and even have some of our mentors go through this training, so that there are things about entrepreneurs. They just think different, right? And I'm not kind of like a DISC profile or some of the other personality assessments that you can take. But there was a really unique study that was done on the minds of an entrepreneur and the profile of an entrepreneur, and where do you kind of fall in there, so that you can see if you're overplaying strengths as an entrepreneur, or if you rank low in something, then maybe that's an area that you can work on, and it can really kind of point to why you haven't perhaps excelled in one area or another. So deploying the EMP, the entrepreneurial mindset profile, is going to be really important to us in the next year to give us more data, more information about our entrepreneurs and really where their heads are. Okay. The second thing is that we would really like to leverage more opportunities within the Gravity Center for those early stage pre-revenuing founders through the launch of a kind of a early stage. A lot of people know as startup weekends, but really those opportunities to go in a targeted small amount of time cohort to really flesh out that ideation period, to to put 8 or 10 ideas in a room for 4 weeks, and help them validate their idea, build their MVP, get some customer feedback, work with mentors, and get them ready for what I believe would be an even more successful scalable VMS program if we had ventures getting ready for VMS, as opposed to VMS really being their option for mentorship. So mentorship is extremely important. It's important, in our personal lives, in our personal journeys, our faith journeys, our business journeys, our community journeys. VMS, keeping it small, impactful, measured, connecting, is really just sharpening the saw on where we've been, deploying the EMP, the entrepreneurial mindset profiles, and then as well, again, the collaboration of targeted early stage development programs in cohorts that get them ready. So I can put whereas I said, earlier that we don't have any requirements in VMS that you're at a certain level or revenuing or jobs. Maybe I can say, if you're not revenue, you need to go through this cohort to get you ready for that. So kind of shore that up, that requirement.
So essentially, you're adding a leg to the entrepreneurial journey. Do I get this correctly? So the VMS is someone a little bit later stage, but you want to offer something to earlier stage folks to figure out things they need before they're ready for team mentorship.
Exactly. And your English as a second language just explained it better than my English as a first language. Absolutely. But you bring up a great point, and that is that again, I go back to to the book Startup Communities. I just anybody that's starting or scaling programs in your entrepreneurial ecosystem, please read that book by Brad Feld. And that is that we have what are called a stack of entrepreneurs, right? And some of them are coming to you and they're like, hey, so I have this idea, okay, and it could be anything from a medical device that's going to revolutionize the world, all the way to you have your grandmother's pizza recipe and you want to start a restaurant. How do you do it? So really helping those folks understand, again, scaffold a business around an idea, which is what MIT was doing in the first place when they started this, is putting business acumen and knowledge around a viable idea, a viable product or service that could be launched in their community. And so, making sure that the stack of entrepreneurs, not the sector, not the scalability, but the stack, wherever they are in their journey, idea all the way up to exit, right? That they have a place to belong in your ecosystem, that they're receiving resources, because every entrepreneur, every small business owner woke up, or if they even went to bed last night, had something on their mind and heart that they needed help with today. So how are we answering those calls? And what technology, programs, services, programmatically, holistically within your organization are you meeting and exceeding those needs of your community?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah, for joining me on this first series of our podcast. Really appreciate your time and great insights.
Thank you. And good luck to all of our VMS partners. I am here in Rock Hill. If I could ever be of assistance, come see us, have a cup of coffee, or let's do a Zoom chat. And I would be glad to expand on any of the information, totally transparent with any of the work that we're doing here to be able to help you grow and succeed your program.